Good day to you all, and welcome to the channel. Today we're covering another historical topic. We're going to visit Greyfriars Bobby, a very famous dog that lived here in Edinburgh with his master John Gray. So without any further ado, folks, here we go. The story of Greyfriars Bobby. We're going to talk about him today and learn a little bit more about the dog and his owner. Greyfriars Bobby. Greyfriars Bobby, 4th May 1855, 14th January 1872. That was his lifespan. Was a Skye Terrier or Dandie Dinmont Terrier, who became known in 19th century Edinburgh for spending 14 years guarding the grave of his owner until his death on 14th January 1872. The story continues to be well known in Scotland. Through several books and films, a prominent commemorative statue and nearby graves are a tourist attraction. The best known version of the story is that Bobby belonged to John Gray, who worked for the Edinburgh City Police as a night watchman. When John Gray died, he was buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard, the kirkyard surrounding Greyfriars Kirk in the old town of Edinburgh. We're here just now. Bobby then became known locally, spending the rest of his life sitting on his master's grave. John Gray's grave is right behind us. There. In 1867, the Lord Provost of Edinburgh, Sir William Chambers, who was also a director of the Scottish Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, paid for Bobby's licence and gave the dog a collar, now in the Museum of Edinburgh. Bobby is said to have sat by the grave for 14 years. He died in 1872, and a necropsy of Professor Thomas Whalley of the Edinburgh Veterinary College concluded he had died from cancer of the jaw. He was buried just inside the gate of Greyfriars Kirkyard, not far from John Gray's grave. A year later, the English philanthropist Lady Burdett Coutts was charmed by the story and had a drinking fountain topped with Bobby's statue commissioned from the sculptor William Brodie, erected at the junction of George the Fourth Bridge and Candlemaker Row, opposite the entrance to the churchyard, to commemorate him. John Gray died 15th February 1858 with his wife Jess and son John. He avoided working in a workhouse by joining the Edinburgh City Police as a night watchman. Around this time, he looked after Greyfriars Bobby. Bobby would follow John Gray whilst he was at work, according to records. Policemen were obliged to have watchdogs with them. John Trail claimed that John Gray was a farmer who regularly visited his coffee house at the 1 o'clock gun. That's the gun that fires here in Edinburgh at 1 o'clock. Though this might have been embellished, as Trail didn't own the coffee house until 4 years after John Gray died. Gray reportedly died of tuberculosis on 15th February 1858 and was buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard. For 14 years, the dog stayed at his master's graveside. In January 2018, his grave was toppled by vandals. George Robinson of the 1 O'Clock Gun Association said, "There are guys wandering around there totally out of their mind." These people that vandalised the gravestone. You can't control them. In a newspaper article in the Scotsman, Greyfriars Bobby, a dog's devotion, 11th August 1934, Councillor Wilson McLaren responds to contemporary questions about the accuracy of the stories by describing his own conversation in 1871 with Mr. Trail of Trail's Coffee House in relation to the dog he himself was then feeding, reassuring readers about the story Mr. Trail had given him, and describing responses in 1889 to questions about the story's accuracy. A sense of the difficulty of determining accuracy is gained from two opposing letters to the Scotsman newspaper. On 8th February 1889, part of the debate referred to by McLaren, both from people claiming close links to Greyfriars Kirk, both claiming to have known of the dog personally, but with opposing views over the accuracy of the stories. A common discussion is over which of two people named John Gray was the real owner of Bobby, one being a night watchman and the other a farmer. In Councillor McLaren's account, Mr. Trail in 1871 had spoken about John Gray, the farmer. He said that John Gray was a farmer. He spoke about him being a farmer. Jan Bonson's book advances the view that fundamental facts about the dog and its loyalty are wrong. Bonson states as background that in 19th century Europe there are over 60 documented accounts of graveyard or cemetery dogs. They were stray dogs. They were stray dogs fed by visitors and curators to the point that the dogs made the graveyards their home. People began to believe that they were waiting by a grave, and so the dog was looked after. Bonson claims that after an article about Bobby appeared in the Scotsman, visitor numbers to the graveyard increased, which supposedly created a commercial benefit for the local community. Bonson also speculates that the 1867 the original Bobby died and was replaced with a younger dog, which explains Bobby's supposed longevity. According to a book published in 2022, Bobby was more likely to have been a Dandie Dinmont Terrier than a Skye Terrier, as it generally supposed. The claim was made by Mike Macbeth, president of the Dandie Dinmont Terrier Club of Canada. Macbeth pointed out that the Dandie Dinmont Terrier was extremely popular in Scotland in the time, with some 60 breeders in the Edinburgh area, whereas Skye Terriers tended to be confined to the Isle of Skye. Alternative views. The accuracy of stories of Greyfriars Bobby has been challenged many times. For instance, in Forbes McGregor's Greyfriars Bobby, The Real Story at Last, Jan Bonson's Greyfriars Bobby, The Most Faithful Dog in the World, and Richard Brassey's Greyfriars Bobby, The Most Famous Dog in Scotland. Now here we have John Gray's grave and his gravestone here. John Gray died 1858. Old Jock, master of Greyfriars Bobby, and even in his ashes most beloved, erected by American lovers of Bobby. Now it is said that Greyfriars Bobby, the dog, lay here guarding the grave of his master, John Grey. 14 years. There. Another gravestone next to John Grey's is James Brown. This is James Brown, sexton, died 1868. Friend to Greyfriars Bobby. Lies near here. So that's us, folks. I hope you enjoyed the story of Greyfriars Bobby and his owner John Grey. Hope to see you all on the next journey. TCSS, take care, stay safe. Bye for now.